Good morning, everybody. My apologies for being a little bit late. Thank you for your patience. Had to talk to the Department of Transportation and the Governor's Office about traffic on the I-5 between Los Angeles and San Diego, or at least get the train running again more reliably. We have a couple things to work on, but proud to be here this morning, joined by some tremendous leaders. In a few minutes, we'll be hearing from my longtime friend and colleague, Representative Juan Vargas, from here in the San Diego area, another longtime friend and colleague in Congress, Representative Scott Peters. We're also honored to have with us Secretary Sally Speener from the IBWC, who you'll hear from. And while not on the speaking program, I do want to acknowledge some of the local leaders who have joined us today for this important announcement. Starting with another longtime friend, colleague in public service, chair of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, Juan Vargas. Thank you for being here, Nora. You can clap for her, that's okay. That's allowed. And the mayor of the city of Coronado, Richard Bailey, is here. I know he's coming to Washington, D.C. soon. We're trying to line our schedules to see each other there. John Duncan, city council member, city of Coronado, is here as well. So a good turnout for what we hope is some good news. First, let's start with a little bit of context. As many of you know, because you were here, I visited last year the IBWC wastewater treatment plant to see firsthand the dangerous conditions that I've been very well aware about for many years. We're here today because the people of the region, and particularly the communities along the border, continue to face an urgent public health crisis. Earlier this summer, we learned that sewage was flowing across the border at the highest volume in a quarter of a century. It's the reason why we work together as a regional congressional delegation to call upon the State Department to press their counterparts in the government of Mexico for answers. It is an outrage that in the year 2024, literal raw sewage and toxic waste continues to shut down our beaches, to pollute the air, threaten the health of our communities, and even jeopardize the readiness of our military and border personnel. But there is some good news to report. Thanks to the hard work that we've been doing together, not just those of us in Congress, but working with a lot of the local leaders, we are taking steps forward for the protection of our communities. Together, we have eliminated the red tape that had previously prevented $300 million from the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement to the IBWC. We unlocked those $300 million. In addition to that, we secured over $100 million this year to repair the South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant. And yes, we're approaching the appropriations process and we're going to fight for more. But just last month, we saw the IBWC award a contract to expand the capacity of the South Bay plant to improve our capacity to deal with the problem. And yes, that is all meaningful progress. But as we know all too well, there's still a long way to go. And that is why the IBWC is now working with the help of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to move more quickly to repair and expand the wastewater treatment plant. But we're not just stopping there. We're thinking about the long term as well. And so let me be clear, today's not a celebration. Today, we continue to focus on the work. And part of the work, part of the strategy to move us forward is us coming together to announce the reintroduction of federal legislation to restore and protect water quality in the Tijuana River Valley. Our bill, and I say our, not mine, our bill, would establish a geographic program within the Environmental Protection Agency, designating the EPA as the lead agency tasked with implementing a comprehensive water quality management plan. I know there's a few football fans that are either present or watching. So in the spirit of football, you can say we're not just being passive, we're not just playing defense. Today, we're going on offense to tackle this crisis. And you can't have a good offense without a good offensive coordinator. And so that, again, is the step that we're taking today. Not just designating the EPA as the lead, but empowering the EPA and committing to hold the EPA accountable for making the progress that we need. By assigning the EPA the clear role of coordinating with other federal, state, local, and tribal leaders to maintain the health of the watershed, we are bringing the full weight and commitment of the federal government to this crisis. And we're creating the long-term plan that will set this region up for success so that one day we can rest assured that the flow coming from the Tijuana River will be clean. Brevemente en español, estamos aquí para mantener nuestro compromiso, para limpiar el agua que viene de la frontera del río Tijuana y proteger el medio ambiente y la salud de las comunidades fronterizas aquí en esta región. Estamos anunciando la introducción de nuestra legislación federal que nombrará la Agencia de Protección del Medio Ambiente con este cargo, no solo apoderando esta agencia para coordinar los esfuerzos federales, estatales y locales, pero también para mantenerlos responsables por el progreso que merecen nuestras comunidades. Muchísimas gracias. And with that, I'm proud to introduce our next speaker, my friend, Congressman Juan Vargas.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you. I told you it's always well worth it to wait for the senator. See? He brought great news. And again, I want to thank the senator, good friend. We've been friends for a long time, for his interest, but more than his interest, the action he's taken here. He's been a great leader on this issue, and I want to thank you so much for being here once again. Appreciate it. I also want to thank, of course, my good friend Scott Peters for being here and being a partner. And also, again, the Board of Supervisors Chair, thank you very much, and the mayor and the council member and all those others and the secretary, thank you for being here, everyone, especially the community. Today, keeping on that image of the football team, the metaphor, we're going to put the EPA in as the quarterback. We need someone to quarterback this, because one of the things that we do find is that there's a lot of fingers pointed, that we can't do this because of that agency, or we can't do that because of that department. Let's put the EPA in charge and let's get clean water. Let's get the money they need. We have to think outside of the box here, and that's what we're trying to do. In fact, today I mentioned, I probably shouldn't mention, but I'm going to mention it, sort of stream of thought here. We did a park today. We dedicated a park, groundbreaking up on Bayer Boulevard. Now, I was on the San Diego City Council in the early 90s and through the 90s until 2000. In 2001, I went to the State Assembly. Prior to the International Boundary Water Treatment Plant being built, we used to treat about 12 to 13 million gallons a day of sewage from the city of San Diego. The city of San Diego would treat Tijuana sewage. We had a bypass system, an emergency interceptor. So this is prior to the plant being built. When the plant was built, then we started treating 25 million gallons. We basically a little bit more than doubled the capacity. The pipes are still in. The capacity at Point Loma is still there. I don't know why we can't treat the pipe again, put it back, it's in place, but get it up and running again and start treating the water. We have to think outside the box. We should take this contaminated water, this sewage, and put it way out into the ocean. It's not the best solution long term, but it's a quick solution right now that we need. We could also put it into our own deep water outfall. I mean, it doesn't, unfortunately, keep with the conditions of the requirements that we have under our permits. But you know what? It's an emergency. It's an emergency. We should act like it, and we should get this done. Now, today we're here to think more long term. How are we going to get clean water here for the rest of our lives as opposed to immediately? But there's a crisis right now. There's a crisis right now, and there's opportunities that we have to take advantage of. We don't, because it's not the normal way of working. We don't normally put raw sewage way out into the ocean, but right now they're putting it on the beach. Let's act as if it's an emergency, because it is. So again, I want to thank the senator. I think long term, he is exactly right. We need this EPA to quarterback the clean water program here in San Diego, in this region. I think this bill, once again, I think it's a great idea, and I think it will work, and I think we will be able to get it through Congress. And I want to thank Scott Peters, who knows this issue better than any of us, and working very, very hard, especially to get the money to do this. But we have to think outside the box. And again, I appreciate all of you being here. Let's work together and let's get this thing solved, not only long term, but in an immediate sense too. We can't just say, hey, it's going to take 5 years, or hey, it's going to take a year. We can start putting that water in these pipes and dumping it way out there, 3 miles out there. We should do it today. We should do it right now. And again, thank you very much for being here. And with all that, I will introduce a very good friend of mine, Scott Peters. Scott.
Thank you. Juan Vargas and I were elected together in 2012, and we have the honor of representing the two communities most affected by this crisis, most directly affected, Imperial Beach and Coronado. And I have to say that we started working right away to start to increase the funding for the IBWC to deal with all the infrastructure issues across the entire border, including this. And then it really ramped it up in 2017 when conditions really took a hard turn for the worse. We are now playing with real money. We were talking about getting the allocation up from $5 to $15 to $30 million a year, but with the USMCA with $300 million and with the appropriations we've had another $100 million, we now are able, and we've started the work to not just to get our plant working again, but to expand it from 25 to 50 million gallons a day with surge capacity up to 75. That work has started, and we're on track. It takes too long, but we're on track. Mexico, through an agreement with us that we signed right here, is doing their part. Their plant should be operational in the spring. They do it faster than us. But that means we can expect better water quality in the summers. And even as we do the work here, it will get better over time. But I have to say, it's really hard to get that kind of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, for this place, 3,000 miles away from Washington, D.C. If this were happening in Chesapeake Bay, it would be the talk of Washington, D.C., but it's not. And I want to say just thanks to Juan Vargas for being such a great partner in this, but I really have to thank Alex Padilla. Think of California. We've got 40 million people. We only have 2 senators. I think Vermont has 600,000 people. They have 2 senators, all right? Our senators have to punch above their weight. We had Dianne Feinstein, who was a champion here. May she rest in peace. We had Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House. She's still a member, but she's not Speaker anymore. We even had Kevin McCarthy as the leader of the Republicans, and now we have a Louisianan. So that makes our job even harder. I want to just say that Alex Padilla has been just a champion for San Diego. He's come down here, he's seen the issue up close, and we cannot do anything in the House without the power of the Senate. And I think, although Alex is working feverishly to get his seniority up, he's really helped us already, and we can't be more grateful than I can't be more grateful for the work that and the leadership of Senator Padilla. So thank you very much, Senator. We all know the problems here. My office funded research at UCSD that showed that we have air quality problems in Imperial Beach. We know that the Navy SEALs are training in feces, and we know that the Border Patrol and the Coast Guard, who guard our border, are affected by this as well. And today we're taking another important step. This bill, the Border Water Quality Restoration and Protection Act, it creates a federal program to address the whole of the issue, coordinated by EPA. Let me just tell you that this is not the first time this has been done in the United States. This is something that Chesapeake Bay has, the Great Lakes has, San Francisco Bay has. Don't wish any ill on them, but I think it's our turn. That this estuary deserves the same attention, the same permanent attention over time, the same funding over time to keep it safe and to keep it clean. And that's the leadership we've seen today from Senator Padilla and Congressman Vargas. I'm happy to co-sponsor the bill, and we're going to work really hard to get it passed. So thanks everyone for being here. And now we'll be happy to join by another great partner. IBWC has been terrific of late under their leadership. Sally Speener, our secretary, come on up.
Thank you. On behalf of United States Commissioner Maria Elena Giner of the International Boundary and Water Commission, I'm pleased to attend today's event as we all work together to solve the transboundary sanitation problem at San Diego, Tijuana. We greatly value the leadership and advocacy of our members of Congress and other elected officials as we seek to address the infrastructure challenges and identify innovative funding mechanisms. While the role of advocating for legislation is reserved for others, I can share with you what we're doing with the funding and authorization already secured by the delegation for use by the U.S. section of the International Boundary and Water Commission, and what our plans are for the future. Our focus is 4 main areas: urgent repairs, rehabilitation and expansion of the South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant, implementation of Minute 328 projects in Mexico, and actions to reduce transboundary flows in the Tijuana River. We're currently undertaking urgent repairs of the treatment plant to bring it into compliance with our discharge permit in a matter of weeks. We're addressing the damage caused by last year's tropical storm Hillary and the continued high flows from Mexico that bring large volumes of sediment and trash that are very tough on the equipment that we have at the plant. As was mentioned by our other speakers, we're also proceeding with the rehabilitation and expansion of the treatment plant with plans to double its capacity to treat Mexican sewage. Just last month, we awarded a contract for design and construction as part of the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to clean water in communities. With the support of Congress, we've already received $400 million in federal appropriations toward the expected total cost of about $600 million. Your leadership and advocacy do make a difference. Minute 328, a 2022 Commission agreement, and we celebrated the signing right here almost exactly 2 years ago, includes not just the expansion of the plant in the United States, but a $144 million Mexican commitment. The Tijuana projects include a new treatment plant expected to be operational in the coming months, and repair and replacement of aging sewer pipelines and pump stations. We also continue to work to reduce the transboundary flows and sediment in the Tijuana River that are so troublesome for our community. We have an aggressive schedule of meetings with Mexico. We're conducting inspections and taking other actions, and we continue to push for further progress. So again, thank you for your leadership and partnership to address the region's significant water quality problems. And Senator Padilla, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you to my colleagues. That concludes our formal remarks. We have a few minutes for a couple questions if there are any.
Summarize the bill. What is new today? What is going to happen? Give me hope as a resident who lives down here that something is getting done, that I can actually sleep with the windows open at night, where I can go walking with my wife and not worry about what we're breathing in. So please kindly tell me what's coming, what's ahead.
And we can follow up with you with more sort of documentation, summaries of the bill, language of the bill, etc. But the bottom line here is, we're not, we don't want to just be reactive, and no, we need to increase the capacity of the water treatment plant and respond to when there's storms and overflows. What we want to do is designate this region. And you've got some great examples of other parts of the country that have done this, whether it's Chesapeake Bay, the San Francisco Bay, in different ways, also the Monterey Bay and its sanctuary, or Lake Tahoe, when regional leaders rallied around those geographic areas for the sake of environmental protection. Let's elevate this region with that priority and have that long-term plan of what does it take to not just clean the water up when it's dirty, but keep it clean and keep it clean for future generations. Number one. Number two, well, there's a lot of departments and agencies and even levels of government involved, not just with funding, but with policy making. We know the best success happens when there's a single entity in charge. And so this bill calls on the EPA to be that entity. Call them the offensive coordinator, call them the quarterback, call them whatever you want. But a single entity that will drive the coordination that we can also hold accountable for the progress going forward. So that, in addition to the resources that we've been able to bring in and additional resources that we're fighting for, together we think will be fruitful.
Would you say that's the biggest hurdle because there are too many cooks in the kitchen?
I wouldn't say it's the biggest hurdle, but there's certainly a more effective way to approach it, and we believe this is the one.
One more question, if I may. One of the solutions, and everybody down here agrees that we need an emergency declaration. You guys have access to President Biden. What is the reason, and why does he not do it or hasn't done it? Since we get a little tornado in Kansas, and then FEMA's out and everybody's out there, but why the hesitation to declare this state of emergency
So
here?
we share your frustration, but instead of just sitting back and, woe's me, may qualify or doesn't qualify for this reason or that reason, what we can do is act as if there's an emergency, because there is an emergency, and we're bringing that sense of urgency to,
But what are
not
the
just the
excuses or the
legislation,
reasons why it
but
hasn't
the
been
appropriations
declared?
process.
What are the reasons? Why is it?
Look, I think that's not going to make it go any faster. We're not putting up a highway that fell down. We're actually rebuilding a plant. We're making it twice as large, and with surge capacity to make it 3 times as large. So I'm not sure that. I think we all have that frustration. I think we've given it attention, and today is just part of a multi-part strategy to deal with the problem. I think what we're talking about now is we're on track to get this fixed here. Mexico's doing their part, and what the senator and the congressman have done, they've said that we're not going to let it go, because the next issues we have to face are 2. One is maintenance. We can't let our new plant go unmaintained like we let the old plant go. And the other is this environmental resource needs to be protected. And if we designate it as something worthy of protection, next time this happens, it won't be ignored. So look, I share your frustration. I wish it could be done tomorrow. I wish we didn't have to go through all the environmental permitting that actually slowed down an environmental project. But that's where we are. But we're in a good place now. We've actually issued the contract, and we're going to be under construction soon. And Mexico's doing their part, which is going to make a big difference.
Senator, can you please just tell us in Spanish the purpose of the bill, especially that designating the EPA as the quarterback or whatever, and also accountable? And can you please do it in Spanish?
Sí, muy bien. Bueno, estamos aquí para mantener nuestro compromiso de proteger el medio ambiente en esta región. Sabemos los programas, el crisis en verdad que existe con la calidad del río Tijuana y el impacto que ha tenido en las comunidades fronterizas. Estamos anunciando la reintroducción de legislación que pondrá en cargo la Agencia de Protección del Medio Ambiente a nivel federal, para coordinar los esfuerzos del gobierno federal, estatal y locales para lograr los mejoramientos que la comunidad merece y que necesitamos, no solo inmediatamente, sino el compromiso de largo plano para limpiar y proteger permanente esta región.
Accountability for them, the results?
Sí. Bueno, y nombrando esta agencia también nos ayuda a mantener responsable la agencia para asegurar el progreso necesario.
Maybe just a couple more questions.
This is Jane Yang from the Epoch Times. So we know Tuesday is the 1,000th day of the Imperial Beach closing. How soon, in how many years, can that beach be open again? Thank you.
Well, unless there's a technical analysis has been done, I think it's very hard to predict because of the variables in terms of the flow coming across the border. We cannot control the weather, but we are moving as expeditiously as possible with the infrastructure projects on both sides of the border. So I think, especially with Mexico on track for completion next spring, by next summer there should be some significant relief. But again, we can't give you a specific date by which the beaches will be back open. We just know
Summer.
the sooner the better.
Some date to expect.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Muchas gracias por su paciencia. Thank you for your patience.